Hey there, and welcome back to The Explainer. You know, if you've ever found yourself feeling completely unheard, or honestly, kind of foolish, even when you knew deep down that your points were rock solid, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're finally putting a name to a super frustrating communication dynamic. We're going to break down why it happens, and more importantly, give you the actual tools to handle it. So let's explore the mockery fallacy.
Why do they just laugh at my ideas instead of actually listening to them? I mean, have you ever asked yourself that? Man, it is just a heavy, sinking feeling. You bring forward a really sincere thought, a well-reasoned argument, or maybe a deeply held belief, and instead of actual words, what do you get? You're met with laughter, a scoff, or some totally dismissive joke. In an instant, you're made to feel small, dismissed, and just entirely invalidated. It's like your dignity is being stripped away right in front of an audience. Whether that audience is a boardroom full of colleagues or literally just your partner across the dinner table. It's incredibly disorienting. And look, it is totally normal to feel this sudden massive wave of self-doubt when it happens. But I really want to validate those painful experiences for you right now. You are not imagining things, and you are definitely not the problem here.
Okay, let's dive right into this and actually give this behavior its proper academic name. We call it the mockery fallacy. This happens when someone completely substitutes genuine engagement with ridicule, belittling jokes, or, that really dramatic eye-rolling just to shut down an argument. Instead of actually addressing the substance of what you're saying, they go after the presentation, or they just try to make you look silly. It's a highly calculated move to derail the whole conversation, because when they don't have the facts or the logic, or honestly even just the patience to address your point directly, they pivot. They use this theatrical dismissal to totally dodge the actual work of communicating. Cementing this definition in your mind, that's your very first step to taking your power back. Because once you can actually name the fallacy, you stop being the victim of a bad joke and you become the observer of a cheap tactic.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how stark the distinction is between a real debate and this fallacy. See, a healthy argument, it relies on facts, logic, and patience. It's a mutual exchange, right? It actually requires both parties to listen, process, and then respond to the real information being presented. The mockery fallacy, on the other hand, relies purely on ridicule, eye-rolling, and belittling. It requires absolutely zero facts and zero logic. It's 100% performative. When you look at the two side by side, it becomes incredibly clear that the person mocking you isn't actually winning the argument. Actually, scratch that. They aren't even participating in it. They are entirely opting out.
So you might be wondering, why not just say, hey, I disagree, and here is why? Well, it's because mockery is a defense mechanism. And the psychology behind this behavior is just fascinating. By making the audience laugh, and hey, that could be a packed room or literally just the two of you, the mocker is throwing up a giant smokescreen. They are desperately hoping that nobody is going to notice they actually lack the facts, the knowledge, or the logical reasoning to counter your point. If everyone is busy laughing at the joke, well, nobody is realizing that the mocker has absolutely no real counter-argument. It's basically an intellectual shortcut, and it's born entirely out of insecurity or just a lack of preparation. They aren't laughing because your idea is inherently laughable. They're laughing to protect their own ego.
Let's move on and see how this builds in some real-world scenarios. Imagine you're in a big workplace meeting. You've prepared, you've crunched the numbers, and you suggest a brand new cost-saving idea to your team. But instead of actually looking at your data, your manager just smirks, leans back, and goes, "Oh, brilliant, because we have $1 million just lying around." And suddenly the whole room chuckles. The tension breaks, but totally at your expense. Notice what didn't happen there. Your manager didn't explain why your budget projections were wrong. They didn't offer any alternative solution. They just used this sarcastic exaggeration to shut down your perfectly valid idea without having to do any of the actual mental heavy lifting of reviewing your proposal.
Or, how about this? Here's another incredibly common workplace example. Let's say you raise a totally valid concern about a project timeline, and a colleague just mutters with this huge theatrical sigh, "Wow, another brilliant observation from the genius." Right? That is not a critique of your timeline. It's a direct, sarcastic attack on you. By using this kind of over-the-top sarcasm, they're trying to paint you as an annoyance, someone whose concerns shouldn't even be taken seriously. And let me tell you, this is absolutely toxic for team dynamics. It signals to everyone else in the room that bringing up real concerns is just going to be punished with public humiliation. It literally trains the entire team to just stay quiet.
But, this doesn't just happen at the office. It totally seeps into our personal lives too. And honestly, the sting there is usually much worse because it's coming from people we actually trust. Imagine sharing a really deeply personal dream with a friend. Maybe you want to go back to school or start your own business, and the response is just a dismissive little chuckle followed by, "Yeah, right, like that's ever going to happen." Ouch, right?
Or maybe you try to set a personal boundary, and bam, you're immediately met with accusations of just being dramatic. These little dismissive chuckles are custom designed to minimize your feelings and your aspirations. They really don't want to engage in a vulnerable conversation about your dreams or your boundaries, so what do? They turn you into a caricature of someone who's just overreacted.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is that at its core, this behavior is weaponized humor. Think about it. Humor, which is normally this really beautiful tool for human connection and joy, is being completely twisted into a shield. These individuals are weaponizing a joke, a laugh, or a smirk specifically to avoid accountability. Because if you get upset, well, they have the ultimate built-in escape hatch. Geez, I was just joking. Why are you so sensitive? It is a brilliantly manipulative trap. It lets them dismiss your ideas entirely, and then they actually blame you for your reaction to their dismissal. Wild, right? But hey, now that we can actually see it for exactly what it is, a weaponized evasion tactic, we can start to disarm it.
So, now that we clearly see the trap, how exactly do we disarm it? Well, here is your definitive 3-step toolkit to respond with firmness and really protect your peace. Step 1, stay grounded. Do not get visibly angry, and this is the big one, do not laugh along just to ease the awkward tension. When you laugh along with the person mocking you, you're actually validating their fallacy. Just let that silence hang there. Let it be awkward. Step 2, name the behavior, and do it calmly. Shine a bright spotlight on exactly what they are doing. And finally, step 3, demand substance over style. Force them out of that performative little joke and drag them right back into the logical arena. Having this toolkit in your back pocket allows you to hold your boundaries with absolute resolve.
And to make this even easier for you, try using this exact script next time it happens. I notice you're making fun of this. Can you explain specifically why you think this idea won't work? Man, notice just how powerful that is. The first half names the behavior without any aggression. I notice you're making fun of this. And the second half, it demands substance. Can you explain specifically why? You are cutting right through that smoke screen. And I really want to emphasize this. Using this script is not about you being humorless or a buzzkill or lacking a sense of fun. Not at all. It is entirely about you insisting that your dignity deserves respect. It takes the burden of proof and puts it right back exactly where it belongs, on them.
If you only remember one thing from our explainer today, make it this. Your ideas deserve respectful engagement. Full stop. You are absolutely allowed to speak with sincerity. You are allowed to care about things deeply. You are allowed to present your ideas, your dreams, and your boundaries, and you never ever have to accept ridicule as a valid form of debate. Seriously, when someone tries to use the mockery fallacy against you, just remember that it is a reflection of their limitations, not the quality of your ideas. You hold the right to demand a respectful, logical exchange. And you know what? You have every right in the world to just walk away from the table if they refuse to provide it.
Before we wrap up for today, I want to leave you with a bit of a question to ponder. We've spent all this time talking about what happens when people use laughter and jokes to shut you down. But what happens when the laughter stops and the tone shifts to something much darker and way more controlling? What do you do when they stop trying to make you look silly and instead they actually try to make you afraid of the consequences of speaking your mind? That chilling shift? That's what we call the intimidation fallacy, where raw fear is used to silence voices entirely. We are going to be decoding that specific, very intense tactic in our next explainer. So until then, remember your toolkit, protect your peace, and please never let anyone laugh you out of your own truth.